Good evening, fellow morons, and welcome to Fantasy Week. How is everybody getting on this week?
Good, I think. All good.
Have we all calmed down after the vote manipulation that stacked the deck for this week, or is it still a sore topic, Daniel?
I'm over it.
Over it. Well, guys, just to give you
not over it found.
Before we came on, I'm in a good mood. I'm relaxed about things now. I'm letting things slide. It's a new me.
So guys, this week we are reviewing the movies which are 300 and the first Pirates of the Caribbean. This was a controversial topic as there was some vote manipulation going on with our followers to ensure that a Daniel favourite didn't make it to the final two. Daniel, what movie missed out?
So my childhood favourite movie, Labyrinth, which I was desperate for us all to watch, but sadly, someone stopped it behind it.
I actually feel really sad now.
I know.
See, if you'd said at the time it was a childhood favourite, things would have been different.
Might have helped the voting if you put that out there. You could have done a little sob story, little 10-second video. But anyway, it didn't win. It will fall into our second chance category alongside some other movies that may also be in there. But before we jump in and talk about these movies, like every week, I'd just like to talk through the movies for the previous week. You guys out there, who can remember the movies that we reviewed last week?
Battle Royale and Pan's Labyrinth.
Spot on. So we had a Labyrinth last week, which was Pan's Labyrinth and Battle Royale. These were from the foreign language category that we had. Battle Royale came in with a score of a 3.35 and Pan's Labyrinth came in at 3.75. Some really good scoring in there, and actually two movies I want to go back and watch again. They were really good movies. They didn't break into our top 10, unfortunately. The top 10 is still as is with Inglourious Basterds, The Fighter, Arnold Schwarzenegger, because I'm looking at the picture, Terminator, Burnsy's favourite, No Country for Old Men. We have also got Jaws, I think that was a Sean favourite, that one, Fight Club, and The Wolf of Wall Street, and the top three are still sitting with Shawshank Redemption, which I thoroughly paid attention to the whole way through the movie. Seven, and another foreign language movie, Parasite, is still sitting pretty at the top, and I can't see that going anywhere soon. But we are here to talk about fantasy movies. We are going to start off with Pirates of the Caribbean. I think that's a good place to start, and then we can go on to the controversial topic of 300 after. You guys aren't going to start off, I'm going to give a little bit of information before it. So, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Peril came out in 2003, which blew my mind. I couldn't believe it was actually 2003 that movie came out. It's got an 8 out of 10 rating on IMDb, and it's over the 2 hour mark, so the star of the show, Sean, won't like it for a start. It's probably lost a point from him for being over 2 hours. This is about blacksmith Will Turner teams up with an eccentric pirate, Captain Jack Sparrow, to save his love, the governor's daughter, from Jack's former pirate allies who are now undead. Who would like to start us off with talking about Pirates of the Caribbean?
Had anyone not seen it?
I can't remember if I had or no. I thought I had, but then watching it, none of it really came back to me at all, so I'm guessing I never.
You go then, Bugsy.
So I went to both these films this week thinking I wouldn't really enjoy them just because it was a fantasy stuff, and as I've said before, my mind just doesn't translate that well to that kind of thing. But I thought Johnny Depp, he was awesome in his role. I really thought he was good throughout it. I thought it set it up quite well at the beginning because you were sort of given a wee bit of background when they were young, and obviously about how the medallion and how it translates into the story. The duels, those were surprisingly good, I thought. Again, just because of my preferences, I was kind of going at this film thinking, it's going to be too much for me. Too many scenes like that, but it didn't ruin my enjoyment at all. I was going to ask you, I take it this is one of Keira Knightley's first films?
I can double check to see how many
Yeah,
films she'd been in, but she was only
It's
17.
not to bend it like Beckham anyway, so it's at least they're
I've seen
setting.
that.
they you've seen that one.
Face-
But Keira Knightley was only 17 when this was filmed, 18
Right.
when it was released.
Wow, that makes it kind of creepy.
Listen, reading the IMDb about this and all the Keira Knightley facts made it incredibly creepy. But we'll crack onto that later.
I just kind of thought that now that kind of makes a bit more sense as well. I didn't look back, but she came across as quite raw in terms of an actress. I thought, like, I didn't really feel any empathy towards her when she was getting like captured and things like that. I didn't really think, oh, I really want her to get out of this situation. I kind of was like, I wasn't wanting her to keep being captured or whatever, but I didn't have any care for her throughout the film. And the only bit I didn't really understand was how Jack Sparrow was like switching sides. I didn't understand his reasons for going from side to side like a few times. That kind of just went over my head. I don't know if it was just my lack of understanding, but I thought it was really good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, which, because of based on even just when I read the synopsis before I started, I didn't expect to. I expected me coming here and saying it's not for me, it's shite. But no, I thought it was good. I'll pass it on to.
Just before you move in there, we should go back and watch another one of Keira Knightley's early films then, because in 1999 she was in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, so we wanted to we'll take a note of that to add to the watch pile, guys. Because I think Episode 1 is definitely worth. You guys have moaned about the Star Wars and you never started from the start, so this all ties in and makes sense.
You've put us off for life.
But then that's not the real start, though. That's the Hollywood start.
Listen, we're not here to talk about Star Wars, okay?
Don't be hijacked by Star Wars again. Get it?
This is going to be every week, isn't it? He's just still so angry about it. Like, just accept that people don't like it.
It's actually surprising to hear Bonzi enjoyed this, because you have to use your imagination a little bit and enjoy yourself. But we'll come straight over to the second negative, Nancy. Let's go to Sean.
I've not got any negative to say about this at all.
Fucking
I
hell.
remember when I first watched it, 2003, what age was I? 14, something like that. I thought it was brilliant, and I actually think that this is the greatest Disney movie of all time.
Holy fuck!
Wow.
No way.
I think it is.
That's a controversial
That-
point of view, that.
No way.
The other Pirates of the Caribbean, I've only seen the first three. I believe there's 7, which I was amazed at when I looked at that earlier on. Kyle, I might be wrong with that. Actually, go double check that, Kyle. I might be wrong with that, but the first one I think is just absolutely brilliant, and I've not seen it for a few years. So I wasn't really looking forward to it, because I thought it would be the case that like, it's just something that you remember that you really liked when you were younger, and just it hasn't really kind of stood the test of time. But I thought it was brilliant, and as Bonzi said, Johnny Depp. I don't think you'll have anybody disagree with this, that Johnny Depp was absolutely outstanding, and it was really good. But I've nothing negative to say about it. I thought it was brilliant. It's a simple story. It's quite funny. It's different in terms of like the way that it portrays pirates, quite kind of comical and stuff like that. Some of them just thick, a lot of them are thick, like when the Black Peril comes up and they like at the start when they start invading the wee town, whatever it was. You've got the boy, the two, you know the two pirates I'm talking about, one with the eye popping out and all that. Anyway,
We've got Kenzie Cook for the
I can't even mind their names, but no, I just really liked it, and I kind of felt like I was watching it as a wee boy again. Like I just was submersed right into it. Really enjoyed it.
Well, you've got there's
Best Disney film ever made.
currently 5, but there is an upcoming 6 and an untitled spin-off to come for it. So there will be 7.
Maybe we're about 7 for.
But
I don't think, and again we're not reviewing these ones, but it kind of, I've obviously only seen 2 and 3, and they were quite poor from what I remember. But the first one I think's absolutely brilliant.
I'm shocked so far, so I think we should keep going around the room. Hunter, you give us your thoughts.
Oh my god. I can't follow up.
Oh no.
Those two going reviews. Right, I remember watching this back in the day, which was 2003, and I remember I had a the poster from this I remember buying in Disneyland Paris, and it was just Pirates of the Caribbean. It was just Keira Knightley's character on the poster.
Just a big picture of Keira Knightley.
I was the same age as her back then, so it was fine. It was fine.
That rings a bell. Hunter, you were 45 when this film came out.
But watched it again. I mean, I don't think I ever watched it again since. I can't even remember if I've watched the sequels. If I have, I've removed them from my memory. But coming back to it now, for me, Johnny Depp is the only watchable and believable and enjoyable thing in the movie now, and I can see why. Sorry?
You don't like Barbossa?
Oh, he's great.
It's good, man.
But to the extent it never blew my mind and captured and brought me in. I don't know if I was just going in too narrow-minded. Like, I knew I loved Johnny Depp, so this was it. But I mean, we can compare it to the captain from Pan's Labyrinth last week. He's not even in the same discussion as that character from last week. I don't know what it is. I probably went in with too serious a mind, and I did note it down that this might have been more enjoyable for me watching it with younger family members or whatever, seeing them captured in, seeing them enjoying it, seeing the sword battles and whatever else. But for me, going in now, I was just maybe going in with too analytical a mind. The only thing I really enjoyed from it, with it is you could kind of see where it was going, and like the whole way, even towards the end where you find out that Johnny Depp is under the same curse as everyone else. Don't know if it's maybe been the trivia or whatever, but I take it he's not seen in Moonlight throughout the film before then, because I'm thinking that must be a foothold that wasn't that clever.
No, he stole it right at the end. He wasn't like that the whole way through the film. He just stole it.
Was that because he took it?
It's because he took that coin at the end.
I didn't realise that was the one he took. I just thought just because you had a random one at the pot, it wasn't the exact one.
So the curse is anyone who took anything out of that, any of those bits of gold, he did it at the end. That's how he did it.
I've misunderstood that then.
Maybe you would have enjoyed it if you paid attention to the film, Hunter. Come on, the fuck.
Right, that as well.
You might need to go back and watch it again.
It's not a film that I would go back and watch. I think it would kind of ruin your enjoyment a wee bit because there's not really. I think it'd be similar to a lot of films that are fantasy based, because if you see what happens, there's not a lot of scenes that are telling the story. It's more just like battles and stuff like that, or swords and things. Like, there's not really much to rewatch the second time around, I don't think, apart from just the effects that they've got, for me anyway.
Would you want to watch the sequels, Bunsley? Does it make you want to watch the second and third one?
Not as much as other ones that we've watched, like when we're saying how we've got Kill Bill. Like, I'm far more looking forward to watching that than I would be the next Pirates of the Caribbean. And plus, Sean said they're not as good as well, so that's put me off too.
I mean, it was even that. Even at the end with Orlando Bloom getting the girl, you could have just ended it there. There was no need for the sequel. Everything tied up at the end.
I'm sure this made like
left for answer.
billions of pounds. So
money, like.
Yeah, because it wasn't originally put out there to have sequels of it, and they did that. They added, because when they put the Curse of Black Peril in, that was not meant to be part of the name. They added that just prior to it going out there, so they could leave it open as like having multiple movies that can come off it depending on how it performed. But it took a ridiculous amount of money. Gross worldwide 654 million on it, and it was budgeted at 140. So, and then that's just in the first one, and obviously merchandise and all that kind of stuff on top of that's obviously been much bigger. But for me, this is the type of perfect popcorn movie. Is one you just sit there, you can enjoy. Doesn't matter if you jump on your phone for 5 minutes when you're watching it. Like, it's fine. You're not going to lose the storyline in it. It's fun. It's entertaining. We've talked about Johnny Depp being awesome in it, and he is awesome in it. I prefer Barbossa. I think Barbossa is fantastic. He plays the character absolutely spot on. There was some really interesting trivia that I was reading when it comes to the way things that actors do. So, like, Barbossa made sure that he was on the left-hand side of the screen at every scene that he was in, because people look from left to right, and he made sure specifically if Keira Knightley or the monkey was on the scene at the exact same time, he'd be as far left as possible, because eyes will naturally draw towards those two before that, and he was trying to get as much eyes on him throughout the whole movie as well, which I think some people probably don't notice until you hear that. Now, next time you ever see this, you'll be looking out for it and be like, well, actually, he is there at all points. But he's probably my favourite in it, definitely. I like it. I'm the kind of guy that will now sit and watch the sequels back to back after it, because I like this, if I'm starting a series, I want to go all the way through it. The storyline's fun, it's great. This is at the height of Orlando Bloom as well, because this is the same year that Lord of the Rings came out. So he was big stuff at this point, and Johnny Depp just overshadows him the whole movie. And Orlando Bloom's brilliant in it, but you just don't think about him or notice him. He's I like him, think he's really good, but there isn't much more you can say on how good Johnny Depp was. Who knows who based his character on?
Keith Richards for the Rolling Stones.
Right.
There we go. And Keith Richards plays who in a future film?
His dad.
Oh, he's in the third one, I can't remember. He's his dad.
Was he?
That's
His dad.
It's his dad in the third movie as well, which I thought was also a really cool piece of trivia.
That movie's a complete clusterfuck, like.
What, the third one?
Aye. That's a mess, man.
Well, this is quite a straightforward movie. Like, there isn't, as much as it's a 2.5 hour long movie, there isn't that much that happens.
The third one's class. The third one, I mean, I'm talking about the third one's a mess, but I know. I'm just going to say very similar things to you guys on this one, because I was going to say this is a guilty pleasure of mine, but it seems like everyone just likes it, so I just like it. It's good. Much like you, I watched this when I was like 16 or something like that, and I thought Johnny Depp was cool as fuck when I was a teenager. As you get older, he seems a lot less cool. He's a weird old man now. But I used to love What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I used to like all his movies just because I thought Johnny Depp was cool. I had a Captain Jack Sparrow ornament that used to talk when you walked past it. I was one of these people that bought all the merchandise and that.
It's a bit less creepy than my poster anyway.
The fact that you had it on your ceiling above your bed, Hunter, that was the weird part.
Some say it's still there.
He's in the nude.
I'll put this picture up on Instagram if I can find it, but I dressed up as Captain Jack Sparrow.
I was actually going to say, I can guarantee that you dressed up as him for Halloween or something one year. Absolutely guarantee it.
I'll see. I don't know if I can find the picture, but if I can find it, I'll put it on Instagram, right? So I used to think this was amazing when I was a teenager, and then, God, I've not seen it for about 10 years at least, and I was kind of worried, but it's still, it's fun. It's not amazing, is it? Like, it's not as good as it was when you were young, but it's still great fun. I think it still holds up now. If I was watching it for the first time now, I'd probably still think it was brilliant. Johnny Depp's quite funny. Like you said, Barbossa's my favourite. Jeffrey Rush is awesome in it. But it's just good fun. Like, you can't, as long as you don't take it too seriously, it's good fun. If you start to try and pull it apart, it's shite. But
it's like a good daytime movie.
It's like you called it a popcorn movie. That's what it is to me. It's like fast food in a movie. Nice and easy to watch. Like, so you can have it on in the background. You can watch it with your mom and dad, you can watch it with your kids, or you could watch it with your mates. It's easy film to watch.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Sorry. Interruptions coming into the door there. So just some of the information I wanted to get to talk about. Where I like to talk about actors that potentially had this, had the role, because if you think we were talking about this movie and how impactful Johnny Depp was, right? And there's a couple of names I want to run past you because there's very stark contrasts of where this could have went. So originally offered the role of Captain Jack Sparrow, but declined it because he was thinking that the movie would not do well at the box office because other pirate movies in the past hadn't. Was Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, he said that he was then proved wrong, so that's the only reason that he accepted the role as Captain Shakespeare in the movie Stardust in 2007.
I was going to say, is that why he did Stardust?
That's why he did Stardust. But could you imagine this movie now with Robert De Niro playing Captain Jack?
5 movies in. You see his acting performance in The Irishman, there's no way he's that nimble 5 movies in.
Aye. I love De Niro. He's one of my favourites ever, but that's just a bad fit. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. And other people that were considered before this came on to Johnny Depp was Michael Keaton,
That would be alright. He'd have been alright.
Jim Carrey.
I was going to say Jim Carrey would have been one I would imagine would have been
I
considered.
think he'd have just been a bit too over the top of it.
Yeah, it would have been so stupid if he did it. Imagine that. Try and close your eyes and imagine that. Jim Carrey.
And just all with facial expressions, wouldn't it?
Alright.
Christopher Walken.
Nah, no having that.
Can't see it either.
Imagine that. His stupid voice being a pirate.
So Christopher Walken was one of 3 people that were tipped for the movie because originally Walt Disney wanted to make this a direct-to-video film. Wasn't going to be a blockbuster. And the 3 actors that they had lined up for it was Christopher Walken, Cary, I can never pronounce his surname, Cary Elwes, E-L-W-E-S. He's in Robin Hood.
And he's in Saw. And
Yes.
he's in... Aye.
Yeah, we've actually spoken about him recently. And I cannot picture this at all, but Rick Mayall was the other one that was in line for playing Captain Jack Sparrow. There is another section here where Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio have said in interviews that they wrote the script in the early 90s and Steven Spielberg somehow got a hold of the script and wanted to direct it, but he would only direct it if he got the choice of either Bill Murray, Steve Martin or Robin Williams to play Captain Jack Sparrow, and Disney rejected the 3.
Robin Williams would have been alright, I think.
It's just, but again, those are all good actors, but this is such an iconic role
Aye.
for...
Now
It's
that
obviously
you're
hard to see it after the fact.
Imagine
after
it.
after you've seen what it is, it's hard to imagine it.
But then somebody, like, when you look at Will Turner's character, and I've got a list of names here of people that were also considered for the role for him, as much as I like Orlando Bloom and he done a good job, I think any one of these could have really done it. Like,
That's one negative I've noticed on like a second watch of this is that like Orlando Bloom's so good in it, like he's no very you can tell he's young and early in his acting career, he's not very good, and Keira Knightley's the same, like there's he's not very good. And did any of you notice that obviously that guy that wants to marry her, the captain guy, right? He's like there when she's like 8 or whatever. He's like,
I noticed that as well. He is basically like they've not aged him at all in those 8 or 10 years, whatever it was.
He's just like watched her slowly grow up, so he could. It's a bit weird.
He's essentially groomed her.
That's one thing I started thinking about.
he'd been the same age as Hunter.
I leave that out. I've been so happy.
Well, some of the other actors that were tipped to play Will Turner were Jude Law, Ewan McGregor, Tobey Maguire and Christian Bale.
They'd have all been absolutely fine.
But I think the character wouldn't have changed much.
Ewan McGregor would have been quite good actually, I think.
So I never intentionally never put this in the trivia, but we're going to talk about it because we touched on a bit the seediness of that there. When I was reading the IMDb, all of the, I'd say a good 40% of the IMDb trivia was all about how Keira Knightley got painted on tits for this film. It was all painted on boobs, and it was all tricks of the camera light and makeup to make her look like she had big bosoms when she's no go. So that was the majority of the trivia, was all themed around that. So that's why I don't have that much to talk about pirates, although I thought I'd have
there's definitely a few hard drive checks required for whoever found that information out.
There was an S. Hunter was most of the names under it as well, which was S. Hunter and Dunter were the 2 names. It was really, really weird. This was also nominated for 5 different categories. Unsurprisingly, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Johnny Depp was nominated. He, however, lost out to Sean Penn in Mystic River, which is a wee favourite of mine. I love Mystic River, great film. He was also nominated for Best Makeup, Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Editing and Best Visual Effects as well. So 5 nominations as well to go in there. It's actually really a weird position to be in where all 5 of us have enjoyed a movie on the same kind of level. I know Hunter was shouting at it a little bit, but it sounds like he didn't actually know what was going on.
No, I completely missed one of the major plot holes and just made it up in my head.
Taking my positives into account, it is like good fun and that, but I wouldn't say it's great. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a nice, easy, fun watch. Do you know what I mean? Good fun.
Good fun.
It's more enjoyable than Star Wars anyway.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
So, tell you what, it's a better movie than There Will Be Blood. Just to piss a few people off.
Get yourself the fuck.
I agree
Bungie,
with that.
is this better than No Country for Old Men?
Yeah, I'm tempted to give it a higher score just so it might tip out the top 10, but
Oh,
maybe that's such a start. They just hit every movie as a 5 just so hopefully it gets out of there.
every film.
No,
was
just
like-
be honest with your scores, please. Thanks.
So,
I started this off by saying I was being really happy, and yours are just trying to be dicks.
oh, happy days. Well, let's then go in and start scoring it. We did the scores for Instagram earlier before we started, and Instagram came in at a 4 out of 5 for this movie. Interaction was a little bit lower than what we typically have, Daniel, though, with these scorings. I don't know if people were quite interested in us watching these, but at the end of the day, you guys decided, so it's on you. We'll come straight to Hunter to get a really high top end score coming from him first.
Right, as I said, I've noticed it down, and I'm just going to give what I've scored it before we come on screen, which was 1.5 out of 5.
Come on.
A 1 point.
And that's literally like 1.5 of that is just for Johnny Depp.
Well, Hunter, I'm going to give you a bit of information to take this information back to your significant other. That you've scored that higher than what we scored Point Break.
In fact, I probably would have said I enjoyed that movie, Point Break, actually. Point Break was just that bit more over the top too much, whereas I like Johnny Depp, and then the fact he's based off Keith Richards has got a wee sentimental value for me as well.
A surfing cop movie is more over the top and ridiculous than a dead pirate movie.
Somehow it is, though.
Yeah.
Jeez. So Daniel, we'll come on to you next and let's get your score for Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think it's a nice, fun, easy to watch movie. Johnny Depp's good in it. It's not like a fantastic film that should be threatening the high places. I've got a 3, a nice solid good 3.
Makes sense. Sean?
I said it was the greatest Disney film ever made, and I stand by it. But again, I'm not a big fan of Disney films anyway, so that doesn't really say a lot.
The greatest film ever made for Disney.
Well, name a better one.
Beauty and the Beast.
I think Disney film, but
Fantasia, The Lion King are both better than this.
Cartoons, garbage. Anyway, I'll give it a 3.75.
A 3.75.
And if I've scored any Disney film higher than that, then I'll be very, very embarrassed, because that just looks horrendous.
but just for like it now.
Oh well, Wreck-It Ralph 2 is a 5, but we've not done that yet. Wreck-It Ralph
For those of you that don't know, we watched Wreck-It Ralph 1 week, but Sean watched the second one by mistake.
And I actually almost done the same this time, because when you go into Disney and you search Pirates of the... Oh, it's all the same bloody picture. It's hard to actually see what film it is. I had to go and Google it, because I couldn't remember the name of the
I
first
did
one.
the same, to be fair, Sean. I didn't start.
I'm shocked that you managed to enjoy Wreck-It Ralph 2 but not seen the first one and getting the storyline to the first one. The second one must have made no sense.
I just like the second one. Again, if you watch the second one, I liked... It's just... Anyway, we're totally digressing. Just go on to whoever's next.
Bunzy.
I'm going to give it the same score as Sean of 3.75.
A 3.75, and then I'm going to come in there with a 3.25. Enjoyed a good movie, would definitely watch again, but sometime in between. Burnsy, do you want to do the maths and then let us know what that averages out at for us?
Yeah, that's an average of 3.05.
3.05, so when we take that to the leaderboard, is bang on with number 30 with Room. So this is behind ironically Avengers, which is a Disney movie. It's behind Con Air, and it's above Heat, The Wanderers and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So around about the 30 mid-table mark coming in for that. Burnsy made your face, so you're not happy with that scoring, Burnsy?
Nah, thought it should have been a wee bit higher, but Hunter had other ideas, obviously. So.
Oh man, it's above fucking heat.
What? It's just me stirring the pot.
It was when we were saying earlier, like, oh, I seem to have liked it. I was expecting at least a 2.5 for Hunter, and then he just.
Aye.
I wasn't expecting that low.
It was bizarre.
I
was trying to think about what have I scored other stuff and like and how high I regard other films that I've watched. I mean, I've always thought about it too much.
You just gave a film a 1.5. You just said that you had a poster of that on your bedroom wall. Like,
And a poster of a character, not of the film. There's a difference.
oh dear.
Well, controversial to say the least anyway with that.
But then the fact that Kyle's just given me is a 16-year-old me has just had his dreams dashed.
I'm saying nothing. Well, that brings us in a 3.05 then for the first Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it's good time now to go and start talking about the controversially picked 300. Just think, Daniel, we could have been talking about Labyrinth this week. We could have been talking about...
One day.
Well, 300. So, 300 is out in 2006, just under 2 hours long at 1 hour 57, with a 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb. So this is King Leonidas of Sparta and his force of 300 men who fight the Persians in 480 BC. This is directed by a favourite of Daniel's, Zack Snyder, who has been mentioned a few times. Cannot wait for when we've got a comic book week or Marvel week or whatever we're doing. Any superhero week that we can get Zack Snyder's films in will be fantastic. I want to come straight to Daniel with this because I want to hear his thoughts on Zack Snyder's direction of this movie.
Funnily enough, before this came up, like about a year or so ago, we've spoken about this movie before. Like, I think this is one of the most overrated movies ever. But I went in with an open mind. I hadn't watched it for a long time, and one thing pissed me off about this. I hope somebody else noticed this or it annoyed anyone else. But see the guy that was like talking over, telling you the story, just done my fucking head in. Like,
That was annoying.
It was describing exactly what you were seeing. It wasn't adding anything to it. It was like,
like one bit he repeated the same 6 words about 3 times over.
Oh, like at the start, the very first, like when it's building up to seeing the wee guy being sent out into the fucking wilderness and that. It's like a David Attenborough documentary. He's like in the black book, fucking dumping on the neck. You can watch him. And the worst bit, right? There was a bit before Leonidas takes his fucking army away, right? And he's having the wee heartfelt moment with his wife. And then there's a bit of moment of silence and then he goes to turn away. And that's meant to be like the nice moment. But instead the guy comes up and goes, and he turned away. Like, we can fucking... Oh, it's like... And that's why I hate him as a director. It's like a student director. Right? It's like a student's been given a really big budget. Like, the dialogue's fucking terrible in this. Like, really bad fucking... There's nothing... You can't feel emotionally attached to anybody in it, I don't think. But I'll say some positive things. So it does look quite cool. And his stuff look cool. Like, just as digressing a wee bit, like, I hate his version of Watchmen, right? But there's some amazingly cool looking scenes in it. It looks awesome. And, like, short bits. And this is the same. It does look fucking cool. And the concept's cool. And, like, the imagination behind it. But that all comes from a comic book. That's not for him. I feel like it's just a really badly directed comic book film. But it's got some iconic, cool scenes in it. And I think Zack Snyder gets by on having a handful of iconic, cool scenes in these otherwise shite films.
It's nice and orange though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very...
That's one of my points is the inspiration for the orange scenes is for this film.
It's always films. Well, Watchmen's really blue, but to be fair, but...
he's directing on an Instagram filter, is what he's doing.
But I don't know, it's just like a really high budget student film maybe. It's alright.
Let's come to Burnsy then to get his thoughts on it, because this strikes me as not being a Burnsy movie at all.
To pick up what Daniel said, the voiceover bit is, at the start it did annoy me, but I found a couple of times I was sort of switching off a wee bit from it, and it did draw me back in, I thought, because I was kind of, a couple of times I was looking at my phone and stuff like that, and then only for like maybe half a minute or something, but then that sort of drew me back in because it was telling me something had happened, which it did work in a couple of times, but I can understand a lot of people wouldn't like it. Like Daniel said about the action scenes, they were impressive, and the sort of backdrops of what was going on behind it, I thought they were really good as well. They caught my eye quite a bit. I think it flowed pretty well, I thought, but I did feel myself, because there was numerous battles, a couple of times I did kind of lose what was going on. It didn't really, sometimes I felt myself thinking, oh, who are they actually fighting now, or what stage are they at, and things like that. When I was reading sort of what the plot after it kind of made a bit more sense to me, so that kind of did lose me at points. And I know it was only brief, but the Queen politician bits, and when they were going back to Sparta, is that was needed for me, because if they didn't have those parts, then it was just going to be too many battles and just constant. So I think that was quite a good gap in terms. It was only a couple of times it did go back there.
I'd actually written down the opposite of that. I thought that I would have rather had none of that. Like her and going to the Parliament and all that fucking did nothing for me. Like,
I think it's just because
Aberdeen just getting a bad writing from the last.
I was going to say, though, Bunsey, you like a wee love triangle, something romantic going on the sideline. I forget about that.
I was going to say, it's like I think it was more because as I said in the Pirates of the Caribbean bit, is I don't like just sort of loads of fighting, battles, blood, sword fights, all that kind of stuff, just constant. So it would have been far too much for me like that. I don't think you could really refer to it as a love story when the guy was like raping her right off. But if that's your ideal love story, then
whose idea of a love story is that?
I was just going to swing by that and ignore that one there, Burns. Thanks for flagging
I
it.
know.
Just like put that under the carpet and move on.
I think
it was good seeing him get his comeuppance for getting with her killing him right off the Queen. It wasn't. It was better than average, and I don't think it was. I was going to say what I put down is it wasn't my kind of film, and I thought you would have enjoyed it more than me. But based on what Daniel said, I think I've probably enjoyed it more than him, which is quite surprising. And I thought Gerard Butler was really good in his role. I think that's the first film I've seen with him in it. But again, I think he was the only real actor that showed up well. The rest of them didn't really add much to it, but I think it's difficult in these kind of films to actually have that kind of impression on you and being invested in a character, because there's just so much fighting and battles going on.
Burnsy, if you enjoyed Gerard Butler in this, I'm sure you'll absolutely love P.S. I Love You then. That seems right up your street. Get that.
I think
watched.
He will love that.
Watch it with subtitles because that accent is awful.
Don't forget Romance Week soon, so because Bunsey will love them. Like,
When it comes to my picks, that's what you're getting.
Just
60
80 movies with love triangles for Bunsey.
Just
And who's
60,
the dad?
60 movies with Vera Farmiga in it, and that's it. Just nobody else. I mean, I like this film, right? I do like it. It's not the best film that's out there, but it's one of those films that if it's coming on the telly, it's starting at 9 o'clock and it's 10 past 9, you might sit there and watch it whilst you're doing other things. It's an enjoyable movie. I like Gerard Butler as well. I think he's very good in it. I like the story of the 300 and the comic book side of it. I like the mythological stuff that goes along with it. That is probably more interesting to me than the storyline in the film. I'm with Daniel on the direction of it. I do think that the narrator's not needed for most of it. Let Gerard Butler do that bit, like let him tell the scenes as they are. The orange lights annoy me now that I've seen Snyder's cut of Justice League, because it's just orange as well. It's like he's used the same filter for both movies. I don't know. I like the battle scenes. I thought the battle scenes were great. When they're putting the good slow motion bits in there, you know that it should be a heavily weighted, easy battle for the Persians to come in and win, and it builds up a really good suspense. It builds up good tactics in there as well, and it allows you to see why the Spartan people are so well regarded. And I think they do a good job of backing that up about showing you a little bit of how they get trained. You get the talk for the Spartan women, they're allowed to, like, only Spartan women give birth to real men and that type of stuff as well. It's dead cool. I enjoy that side of it. I think there isn't really much of the actors that I didn't like. I didn't realise this was Fassbender's film debut as well. I thought that was interesting because when he came on the screen, I paused it and I was like, is that Fassbender? Like, why don't I know that he's in this movie? So that was quite cool. I quite like that. There's loads of trivia I'm going to go into here, but I want to get, because there was so much to pick up from this, and obviously we've brushed over the fact that they're all ripped and beautiful.
CGI muscles though, eh?
Well, according to the trivia, it's not. Wait, let me find.
I remember a few videos doing the rounds at the time, like showing you Gerard Butler's diet and routine for getting into it.
But I'm sure that a lot of the scenes, the CGI'd extra muscles in some of them, is what I was told at the time.
It was claimed that the six-packs and all the actors were digitally enhanced. This isn't the case, as they all had to go through extreme training. To show empathy for these actors, Snyder also went through the same training. Whilst it looks impressive, it is not without its pitfalls. Gerard Butler developed a painkiller addiction due to the toll it took on his body over the training. It was 12 weeks of feasting they got to get in shape for this movie.
I'll take it all back, man. That was all. I believed that for fucking 15 years.
Honestly, I thought I'd heard that somewhere as well before you mentioned it in the chat, but I can't remember where.
I think it's just one of those ones where you see them like that, you're like, that! Because you're sitting here and you're looking at that big keg roll belly that we've got.
It's that fucking orange filter makes it look like it's no real. It's stupid. It makes everything look like digital.
Well, this is definitely a movie to make you feel inferior when you're watching it, sitting there eating your kebab and munching away as they're all running about ripped to shreds.
There's no one that you should watch with your girlfriends as well.
Yeah, don't watch it with your missus, guys. You just get looked at disappointedly. I'll go through some of the trivia at the moment just now. So the body count in this was 585. I thought that was quite interesting. There's so much death in this movie. One of the lines that I remember this from watching it first time round, but I couldn't remember why it stood out to me, and I feel like I've read this somewhere. But the line "come back with your shield" or "on it" was a common phrase by Spartan women to their sons or husbands, because soldiers would drop their heavy shields when they ran away, and their wives would rather that they would come home dead than come home as a coward. So, and it's also, do you remember when they tell us the deformed Spartan that he wishes them to have a long and happy life? I have got that somewhere here. He said, "May you live forever," which is an insult, because the greatest glory that a Spartan can have is dying in battle. So they wanted him to live forever. It was the ultimate insult to give to someone from Sparta, which I think is quite interesting. It adds a little bit more dynamic into it for me. When the Persians demanded that the Spartans surrender their weapons, he replies, "Come and get them." According to ancient historians, Leonidas actually said that. It was adopted as a motto of the Greek army's first corps also.
There you go.
This might fall into Hunter's category at a later date of true movies that may have happened in the past at some point.
The
child...
Because one of my points that I made whilst I was watching this was, I wouldn't have necessarily put this in fantasy. To me, this just felt like an over-the-top dramatisation of something that may have happened. Like, the sort of the area, the armies, whatever, they were all true armies at some point, one or another, so this may have happened in one way or another. It's just, it wasn't like pirates or mythical.
Well, I'll tell you what, see if you had piped up during the selection of these movies, we could have been watching Labyrinth this week, so I'm going to put the blame solely at you, Hunter.
No, but like, this is fantasy because they are like the creepy fucking old psychic kings, the 80-foot giant elephants, and the Persian king's like an 8-foot tall fucking half god thing. There's like fucking orc royal things they're fighting, and like immortal things. It's fucking totally bad.
Using elephants as weapons too.
Aye.
What?
But they were like giant elephants.
When you've got the guy that thinks he's a god, the boy from Love Actually, you need to sit and look at him in a different light.
Aye, man.
Just a couple other things there. The child that plays young Leonidas in the training scenes is Zack Snyder's son. Daniel now hates him as well. With real Spartans,
Nepotism.
Sorry?
Nepotism.
I'm saying
He didn't earn that part.
That's it, because everyone earns it. So in the movie, only Leonidas has a plume on his helmet to distinguish him for the audience in battle scenes, but in reality, all Spartans had that on their helmets. So that was just put in there to let you know that Gerard Butler is the main guy. Where else have we got here? I've told you one about the six packs. I think I'm just running out of trivia on this. In real life, Leonidas' last words were, "Tonight we shall dine with Hades. Not tonight we shall dine in hell." Hell is a Norse underworld, but the name became synonymous with the Christian Inferno in later days. So it wouldn't have made sense for him to say that as well. King Leonidas derides the Amphians as boy lovers. Do you remember them, the little group that was at the side?
Yes.
It was in fact the Spartan army that were fought to encourage homosexual relationships amongst the soldiers, due to the fact that as a Spartan male they would live with his fellow soldiers till about 30 years old. And this is brought up.
I did make that comment with Fassbender's character and the other guy's son were looking like, they made that comment about the Athenians, and then you could see a few, you could tell there was a bit of flirting going on as they were clearing all their dead bodies away.
I remember that, yep.
I feel like this is turning into a bit of like a Discovery Channel show.
Aye.
What did you think about the film, Sean?
Thanks.
Move on
Waiting
for there.
about half an hour to get into all these trivia things coming up. I always remember liking this film. I can remember going to the pictures to see it, and I always thought that I liked it. I think I've only actually seen it once before this. And then obviously watching it again, I just found it quite boring. And the thing that stuck in my mind, I remember in the group chat, obviously, that you were talking about that Zack Snyder uncut Justice League film. I think it was you, Daniel, that mentioned about all the slow-mos in it. And there was just so much of that, like slow motion, like needless slow motion in this as well. It's like trying to add suspense and stuff, but it really, really just stood out for me, and it just, I don't know, I just didn't like it. Obviously there's a shit ton of fighting and stuff like that in it, and which is great if you're into films like this, but I don't know, I just didn't particularly enjoy it, which is strange because I always kind of thought I liked this, but turns out I don't.
I like that.
It's weird, and like again, like it's not my kind of film at all. Like it's very, very, like I find it very cheesy, like the way that they communicate to each other, and it's all this like very, very just kind of cheesy battle phrases and stuff like that. Like it's not for me at all. But what was this, 2006 or something that came out, 2005?
2006, yep.
Aye, so back then, I don't know, I think I maybe was into stuff like that, but no anymore. Like I like Gerard Butler, I think he's fine in it, but it done nothing for me at all. I just found it really, really kind of boring, and just the way it was shot, it just seemed very, very dark, like too dark, and I just didn't like it. I absolutely hated the dialogue in it. I wasn't a fan of it at all.
It's honking.
I can do that because when they're talking to each other as well, it's quite hard to follow. You don't get a feel of them being this tight knit group.
No.
You've got Leonidas, and that's it. Everyone's going to listen and do what they say. And even when the other ones are trying to have a little bit of flirting or a little bit of banter between each other, it's quite a struggle. But I suppose that's maybe not helping with having a narrator in the background taking the spotlight for everyone.
See, I can't explain how much that fucking annoyed me. Like,
It was annoying.
my
Just
head.
needless. Really needless. It's like it just adds absolutely nothing. Do you know what it's like? It's like when you watch a football game and you've got like a co-commentator like Glenn Hoddle who just tells you exactly what you're watching, and it absolutely infuriates me. But it just adds absolutely nothing. There's no, like, that's what they're there for, is to add this, to basically see stuff that you don't see, and then basically communicate it back to you. But as you said, he's just basically, this voiceover is just basically saying exactly what you're watching. It's absolutely pointless.
I feel like this is what like if you were blind and you went to an audio description.
Aye, it's like audio
That is it.
Aye, strange.
Do you guys know who...
that would be really confusing if you were actually blind and you had all those audio description on. They're just two guys talking over each other, just saying the exact same thing. It's just pointless. That's absolute nothing.
Do you know who narrated? Who was the narrator?
That guy that was left at the end.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the
The
one.
new king, yeah.
Was
Aye.
it? I mean,
So imagine like if you were watching Braveheart, but it was like Robert the Bruce was like narrating like all through William Wallace's life, and then he led the army at the end. That's what it'd be like.
See, the weird thing about it is, right, Leonidas wanted him to be the one to be saved and to go back, right? And he said it's because of like your special gift, and his gift is to be the narrator. It's because you need to survive so you can tell the story and be the narrator on this shite film. Oh.
Well, let's no spend any more time with them. I think we've all had our say when it comes to 300. So I think scoring time is good to come. Instagram gave this a 3.63 out of 10, which was only 3 votes, so Daniel, wasn't it? It was quite a...
This is the lowest. This is the least anyone's cared about a film we've ever reviewed, I would say.
There was a lot more people that voted for it than actually told you what they thought about it.
We had a suspiciously high amount of people voting that didn't even fucking follow the page, so...
I thought you were going to be chilled out tonight, Daniel.
I know it's not the right intentions, but no, I'm alright.
Well,
They basically dissected this film as like we boiled that rage it was simmered before we came on live.
let's
I'm
go
back
to...
to Pirates of the Caribbean. It was nice and happy.
Let's head off to the other half of Dunter then to tell us what his score is for this movie.
Right, you might be shocked by this, but I actually enjoyed it slightly more than I did Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
But what I would say is, although we've kind of talked about Gerard Butler, I feel this was the peak of his career. I don't think he's done anything anywhere near as good or he's been as prominent as a character since. But then you look at the other three main protagonists within the film. You've had Lena Headey has only done Game of Thrones, Dominic West obviously done The Wire and The Affair, he's went on to bigger and better. And obviously Michael Fassbender has as well, whereas the main star of the film hasn't topped possibly what he's done here. But I think that was quite an interesting point. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that.
although see what's her name? The one that went to Game of Thrones. She's just as wooden and shite in this as she is in Game of Thrones, eh? Like,
And I imagine she's the same in Aberdeen as well.
Aberdeen, I was going to bring up.
Aberdeen.
Hey, she's brilliant in Dread. Anyway, we're not
But,
here to talk about Lena Headey.
Stop digressing, my score for this was a 2.25 out of 5.
2.25. Jeez. Do you think it's doubly as good to Point Break? Oh, we did a lot of things out. The other half of Dunter, you go now.
I find it difficult because I'm trying not to be too swayed because I probably hate this more than it should be hated. But I'll give it a quite generous to me 1.25.
1.25. That's high. That's lower than what Hunter gave Pirates. Sean.
I'm just going to give it a 1.5. I think that kind of fairly reflects my thoughts on it.
1.5. Burnsy?
I did enjoy it. So again, it was that kind of film. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
3. That's a big jump up from what I thought you were going to say. I'm going to give it the same as him. I'm going to give it a 2.25. Enjoyable movie. Not as good as Pirates. Would watch again. Yeah, I'd watch it if it was on. That's probably the best way to describe it. What would that then bring us to, Burnsy?
I just need to calculate. I'm a bit slow this time.
I feel like you're an accountant.
I know. Well, I tried to do the calculation and I cleared everything off. So you seem worried now that I can't actually do it.
It's not like this is how you make a living, all that.
I feel like we should have a time clock here.
You need to get
So
the
we'll get his
quick
invoice in later for his time spent calculating our scores tonight.
You need to get like a quick so it adds up for me. What did you say it was, Kel? 2.25?
2.25 for me, Bunsy, yeah.
That's a 2.05 overall.
2.05. So if we then have a look at the leaderboard for this movie, this brings alongside Us and JFK. So that's the two movies that then becomes alongside. Fair? No?
Us was miles better.
What was us about again? I forgot that.
That family who had the
horror one, remember, with the coffee family.
Well,
And the scissor.
this also...
Oh, aye, that was far better than this actually. So I don't know why I've scored it so high.
brilliant.
Well, this...
So consistent.
I know.
Lucky I've got you here to bring it down a bit.
So this also puts us just in front of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. So 300 is better than Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, guys. You really need to have a working word with yourselves.
I would say Star Wars is slightly less shite than this. I scored Star Wars a 2.
Well, it's absolutely despicable scoring. But anyway, we won't mention Star Wars, will we? You guys keep bringing it up. So
Yeah, you really need to get over this. Like this is going to happen on a weekly basis. Just get over it and move on. You like it, we didn't. There's no more. There's nothing else.
That's it. I like Ballad of Buster Scruggs and none of yous like it. You didn't hear me fucking moaning about it.
That's true.
to be fair, you are the only person in the world that likes it. So
I know, and that's fine. Just like you're the only person that likes Star Wars, you big
fucking loser. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the two movies that we're going to discuss this week. So 300 and Pirates. 300 coming in at a 2.05, Pirates coming in at a 3.05. Now we are going to move on to next week, which has already caused some controversy, but I'm going to put it on the screen just now. So
the controversy being that we're not watching movies with the subject matter of Rwandan genocide. That's
well, that was a heated discussion before we came online. So the movie's on screen at the moment. This was Partners Picks. We had two winners, which was Almost Famous. I know Hunter's been talking about that one for quite some time. And Kill Bill 2, which is quite nice to have a movie which is a sequel to one that we've just watched recently. But we have decided that because we are absolutely shit scared of our partners and we don't want to upset them all, that we will watch the other two movies that the two other ladies that never won selected. We will declare them on the Instagram of what they are and when we're going to be watching them at the time. But Almost Famous and Kill Bill will be the movies that we watch for next week. So typically at this point we would then jump in and get the wheel spinning. We are going to not do that this week because we have something different coming in for next week. So let me put that on the screen just now. So next
Can we
week...
just spin it and see what we would have got anyway, just for a laugh?
No.
Like Bullseye, this is what you could have watched.
I've taken that off, but you've ruined my flow.
There's a speedboat for the lads on the other side of the wheel.
That would upset me if it lands in my films and I never get it for another 3 months.
I'll spin it in the background because I don't have it set up to come on the screen. But next week we are going to be having a guest joining us. So we have Chris Ward from the What We Watching Tonight Instagram account is going to be joining us to discuss these movies. Chris has also kindly given us 16 movies that we'll put up on the Instagram. 16 very, very good movies that we're going to put up on the Instagram, and I think we'll get some amazing interaction for that one. We think that we may have some challengers to the top 3/top 10 anyway, for the quality of the ones that are to come. But can you please jump on and give Chris a follow on his Instagram account as well? He's just shy of 1,100 followers, so it would be great if you could pop on and show him some support. He will be joining us next week, Monday at 9 o'clock. But that does, however, bring us to the end of the stream. As always, we'll send you across to another Twitch streamer at the moment. Pop in, say hi, let them know you come across from the Morans channel, and we hope you have a good night. See you all next week. Bye bye.
Cheers, bye.